win. Welcome on in. Happy Friday night. This is the PHNX D-Backs podcast. I am your mayor of PHNX, occasionally known as Derek Montilla. Also, a sleuth investigating the death of what I think is a murdered snake that's a stuffed animal. This is Jesse Friedman.
The snake was murdered?
I think there was foul play. Wow. I'm going to make some wild accusations here shortly. This is my deputy investigator, Jesse Friedman, also known as your Thunderstick. And the Diamondbacks win, Jesse. That's the most important thing. It's Friday night. I know we used to do this on Sunday, but we're going victory. What is this? Victory sombrero, victory big dumb hat, sombrero. Whatever we're going with. But we're putting the victory hat on because the Diamondbacks needed this one. They end their losing streak at 3 games, and we finally get to do this show after a victory, which feels very good. Feels much better than doing this show after losses.
It feels like Christmas, Derek.
Oh, we look like Christmas. What do you mean it feels like Christmas?
Not as much because the Diamondbacks won this game, but because I'm wearing a very nice evergreen color right now, and you're wearing red, so it just kind of works.
And the vibes are immaculate, according to the back of my shirt, Jesse. The vibes are immaculate. They're immaculate at Chase Field. We had Jeff Bannister stepping in for manager Torey Lovullo tonight. And Bannister did an excellent job leading the club to victory. Again, like I said, ending their 3-game losing streak.
Does this mean that Torey's not allowed back? Is that your takeaway from tonight, Derek? The 3-game losing streak. Jeff Bannister steps in. The Diamondbacks get a win. Is that all you needed to see?
I don't like that as much. Torey, of course, was away to go to his son's graduation NAU,
ceremony.
Right?
His son Connor graduated from NAU.
It's nice to see Torey have his priorities in the right place, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, how many of us say, I have to work, I can't go to your thing, right? Torey Lovullo is the manager of a Major League Baseball team, and he still said, sorry, guys, I need the night off. My kid's graduating. So, and he knew the team is in good hands because they have an excellent coaching staff, and Jeff Bannister has tons of experience. And honestly, Bannister did a great job at managing tonight's game. And the D-backs might, in fact, still be a wagon. But of course, the first thing we need to talk about is Christian Walker being ejected in the bottom of the 6th for essentially clapping, right? That's what it comes down to. Maybe clapping with some pettiness, maybe clapping in the direction of good call, idiot, maybe that kind of thing, right? But he was clapping in the dugout, and apparently that was enough to agitate home plate umpire Alfonso Marquez, who tossed Christian Walker from the game. And much like Christian Walker, we all look like this. This is what we all look like when he was ejected. Like, it was such an unbelievable moment, Jesse. Like, I mean, even on the broadcast, they thought that they were talking more about like balls and strike calls and other things there. They didn't really think Christian Walker had actually been ejected from the game. But that is, in fact, what had happened.
Yeah, I think it was Christian Walker's at-bat before this, his previous at-bat before that happened. I believe it was the second pitch of the at-bat was what appeared to be a little bit off the outside of the plate. The call went against Christian Walker. It was called a strike. He proceeded to swing and miss at the next pitch, striking out. And he was not happy about that as he walked back to the dugout. Obviously, the third strike in that at-bat was not Alfonso Marquez's fault, but Christian Walker very much was remembering the second pitch of that at-bat. And
fireworks. We can hear fireworks.
We can hear fireworks in
fireworks
the background at Chase Field. But yeah, I do think there was some pettiness in the clap. When
the broadcast can't find anything that like shows him doing something that's crossing a line, what the fuck are we even doing here? We are literally throwing a guy out because he had a problem with your check swing call, and now here he is applauding that you got it right with another batter, and that somehow is enough to be ejected from the game. And let's be honest, there were, this ended up being a close game. The Diamondbacks win 7-5, but still they are, they could have really used Christian Walker to remain in this game. Like, losing Christian Walker was a fairly vital piece at a critical time in the game.
Yeah, I mean, you saw it there for the D-backs, right? You had Corbin Carroll up against a left-handed pitcher, and then instead of Christian Walker following him, you had another left-handed hitter in the game in Josh Rojas. So it definitely made a significant difference in the D-backs lineup. fortunately for them, it didn't wind up affecting the outcome of this game. But yeah, there's no question. I think, even if you sort of suspect some pettiness in a clap from a player in the dugout, that just doesn't feel like enough to make an ejection.
You got to have you got to have thicker skin than that. You know what I mean? Like that, I feel like that kind of thing when you're an umpire is like your everyday level of pettiness that you're going to receive from players. And I feel like everything is going to be kind of a passive aggressive taunt your way about a previous call or something they didn't like that you did. And you just got to live with it. Players have long memories too when it comes to this shit. They'll remember what you did the last time that you were the home plate umpire and they had to deal with you or whatever. So they're not going to forget. But you know what? The fireworks, they got me excited. I know I'm not exactly drinking a beer, but Damon, even without Tori being here, can we at least still get the Friday beers with Tori real fast? Let's throw it up there. I'm excited. D-backs win.
What's up, everyone? It's Tori Lavello, manager of the Arizona Diamondbacks. Thanks for checking in. Hope everybody's doing great. It's time to kick off happy hour, and Clue Haywood says it's time for Friday beers.
Let's go. I hope that's what Tori's doing right now. I hope Tori is having some Friday beers. He deserves it. He needs a night off himself. Tori's always giving the guys nights off, but sometimes Tori needs a night off. So
there you go.
Shout out to him. Shout out to Banny for managing his way through this game. I thought he did a good job, especially when it came to his management of the bullpen.
He was on fire with the challenges tonight.
He was on fire with the challenges.
2 for 2.
Yeah.
And both were pretty close plays.
Yeah.
Like neither of those were obvious. Granted, whether or not Jeff Bannister actually challenges a player or not is pretty much entirely dependent on his video guy.
However,
not himself.
Usually Banny is the middleman. Banny is usually the guy going to the phone, and Tori checks with Banny, and Banny gives them kind of the thumbs up or thumbs down on if they should challenge it, right? And so we've seen Tori make a lot of those, put on the earmuffs, calls real fast, hold on, wait, stay out there, and he looks over at Banny, and Banny says, nah. But Bannister was on fire tonight. And I thought he was on fire with his management of the game, too. We talked about, of course, the bullpen. And obviously, the bullpen has had its ups and downs. Chafin had another rough night tonight. You couldn't exactly say his outing was great. But, again, the management of the team got them through the game late. Their offense was absolutely on fire. But Ryne Nelson really had another subpar start. 4 2/3 innings, 7 hits allowed, 4 earned runs, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. Not terrible, not a disaster.
No.
Again, it's that almost by comparison to what we've seen at times. It's a better outing, but it's still not Ryne Nelson being as sharp as the Diamondbacks need him, especially when it came to how long he lasted in this game.
Yeah, you just see it over and over again with Ryne Nelson. He can get to 2 strikes. And then once he gets there, it's sort of like, all right, now what? You try a bunch of fastballs around the outer parts of the strike zone. He tried some sliders, some changeups. The curveball is a little bit more of a get me over pitch for him. But yeah, he just didn't consistently have the feel for his slider or his changeup. And those are kind of his 2 primary out pitches outside of the 4-seam fastball. And that's kind of been a thing with Ryne Nelson for a while. It's like you feel good about the fastball. It was particularly electric today, honestly.
Yeah.
He was pumping 97 pretty consistently in the first inning. I thought his stuff was maybe about as good as we've seen it so far. But he still just doesn't have the wipe out put away pitch, right? He doesn't have the Drey Jameson slider. Yeah. And so it makes it tough. It makes it hard for him to get through these games efficiently. He doesn't really have pitches that are inducing a lot of soft contact, and he doesn't really have pitches that are getting a whole lot of swing and miss other than his 4-seam fastball itself. But even with a San Francisco Giants lineup that is toward the middle of the league, you're just not going to be able to get away with throwing 4-seam fastball after 4-seam fastball after 4-seam fastball. Yeah. And he had his moments. There were sliders here and there. There were changeups here and there that were like, oh man, do that again. Like, if you could do that a few times in a row, you'd be in a good spot. But Ryne Nelson just continues to struggle with those secondary pitches and kind of finding something that will stick for him.
And of course, tonight it was enough, but it did put that stress on the bullpen. The bullpen once again was Scott McGough. We saw. Can you help me with Anthony's last name again, Jesse?
Anthony
Misevich, thank you.
Yeah.
Because I can't look at that name and get that from that, right? But Anthony Misevich was good tonight. But once again, Bannister leaned on, the guys that they've kind of been leaning on quite a bit, including Scott McGough, Andrew Chafin, and Miguel Castro. And none of them were flawless. Scott McGough gave up, some of his pitches were just right down the middle, dead center, gave up a pretty long fly ball, but he was still fairly decent out there. It just didn't really invoke a lot of confidence, considering how exciting, I guess you could say, they made the end of the game there.
Yeah,
and that goes for all of them. Even though Chafin, kind of struggled there, he was able to lock it back in after a mound visit, and honestly looked very good after that. Miguel Castro had like an 8-9 pitch at bat before, and really kind of struggled there a little bit to put the game away, but was able to do it successfully. So I don't want to
dwell. It was a pitch right down the middle.
Man,
the pop-up to end the game was literally right down the middle. The D-backs bullpen was probably not quite as good today as the box score would maybe tell you. The D-backs bullpen technically only gave up 1 run in 4 1/3 innings. There were some shaky moments. There were some pitches that were a little bit more middle than you would want to see from, honestly, everyone. I think Kyle Nelson was pretty good, but Scott McGough, Andrew Chafin, Miguel Castro, all of them left pitches in bad spots, and they got away with it. But you felt like some D-backs relievers were kind of due to get away with some stuff at this point in the season, because they have not gotten away with much here over the last few weeks.
5 relievers to close out the game. Again, not great, especially considering this 4-game series. With the Giants is going to see the younger guys in there, so they're definitely going to need a longer outing, and hopefully we can see here when we look at the probables some light at the end of the tunnel. But the Diamondbacks really need to take care of business here against the Giants. We talked about this kind of being a tough outing for them. There were a lot of mistakes being made. Gabriel Moreno has not been great in this series. He came through for him in a couple of situations, but he's hitting a lot of double plays so far. A lot of double plays. Corbin Carroll slump continues, and Jesse, should we be worried about Corbin? I mean, I personally feel like I am worried. I wouldn't even be bringing this topic up if internally I wasn't, but like my baseball mind side says this is once again baseball, and no player, whether it's a position player or a pitcher, can just have time off and then boom, be right back into the groove that they were in prior to not playing baseball for an extended period of time.
I mean, honestly, Corbin Carroll, right when he came back, was good. I think he had a hit or maybe a couple in his first 2 games back, if I'm remembering correctly. But it's just been sort of this last week as he's kind of gotten back into being a full-time player that Corbin Carroll has started to struggle. I think he's 2 for 20. 2 for his last 20 with 6 strikeouts, something like that, which is not great, but also that's inevitable. I mean, those kind of slumps are going to happen over the course of a season. I'm not worried in the slightest about Corbin Carroll. The man still has an OPS well over 800, and that is still outstanding. He is still 22 years old. Yeah. I think people might have gotten a little greedy while his OPS was 1,000, and it looked like he was gonna, win the MVP award hands down or something like that.
Still gonna.
Yeah, I mean, yes, that's the takeaway. Corbin Carroll is still having an outstanding season, and every player is going to have their ups and downs. I'm not sure that the league has really figured out Corbin Carroll yet. You might be kind of starting to see that a little bit. I think he's struggled in particular with high fastballs. There's been a lot of swing and miss. There's been some pop-ups on those pitches. So, that's what's going to happen as you get a little bit more acclimated to the big leagues. Opposing teams are going to read up on your scouting report. They're going to figure out what your weaknesses are, and then Corbin Carroll's going to have to adapt and adjust. And I think there's no doubt that he will make those adjustments. It just might take a little bit of time.
Cog says a bullpen survival is better than a bullpen blowout. That's for sure. And I'm going to have to toss Ryan, Daniel, and Thunderbolt all from the chat for talking about chat clapping. There's no clapping in the chat. There's no discussing clapping. And I take offense to that. I'm out here doing my job. I'm out here calling balls and strikes, and the last thing I need is your criticism from the chat. So you guys are all gone. You gone, you're gone, and you're gone. Talking about the young guys we should be worried about. Obviously, Gabriel Moreno, we brought up the double plays.
Gabriel Moreno,
his double play percentage is a bit concerning.
It's pretty dang high. Yeah, okay. Jack Summers, our friend over from Inside the Diamondbacks, compiled some numbers. This is from yesterday. I want to say as of right now, Gabby Moreno in his career has had, I believe it's 34 double play opportunities. So situations where you come up, there's a runner at first base, and there's less than 2 outs, right? That would be a double play situation. 34 opportunities, 9 double plays for Gabby Moreno, which is more than 25% of the time. League average is 10%. So that is pretty insane. Gabby Moreno has had a serious issue with the double play ball since coming into the league. Obviously, it's still a pretty small sample size at this point. And I think there's also some element to Gabby Moreno's game is going to lend itself to a few more double plays than you would probably like. He puts the ball in play a lot. He hits a lot of ground balls. Gabby Moreno could be a very, very good baseball player and yet still ground into a few more double plays than a league average hitter. At this point, though, granted, it's not just a little bit above league average. It is a lot above league average. I suspect this will kind of balance out a little bit over time, but hopefully. It has been pretty rough so far this season.
But when it comes to the young guys that are doing well, there's one young guy that kind of is exceeding expectations.
We haven't even said his name yet.
But he is our king snake, so let's throw it out there now. Dominic Fletcher, 3 for 4 tonight. Double, home run, 4 RBI. Have yourself a day, young man. This kid is really hitting the ball well right now. Jesse plays some damn good defense. Currently hitting .457 with a 1.115 OPS.
He is 16 for 35 with 3 doubles, a home run, and 2 walks to start his big league career.
Fucking ridiculous.
Derek, the only question is Dominic Fletcher the best Italian baseball player of all time? I think no 35 at bats into his big league career, we're at a point where we have to address the question.
The answer is yes.
Dominic Fletcher the best Italian baseball player of all time?
Him, then Joe DiMaggio, then Mike Piazza.
Right? Yeah, Mike Piazza, you got to give him his flowers. He's definitely top 3.
He was on that fucking SEALs show I watched, the Special Forces show where they put celebrities through crap, and he almost let his body break down just to prove some sort of weird point on a reality.
Yeah, Dominic Fletcher would not have done that.
No,
right?
Dominic
he would have held his own.
He would have held his own. He would have been in the final 3 for sure. But
people are saying Dominic Fletcher is going to finish second in Rookie of the Year voting. Actually,
I heard Dominic Fletcher is already leading the league in MVP votes, but I mean that could just be
D-backs going 1-2.
I mean,
there you go.
What a pleasant surprise, really, when you talk about the fact that the Diamondbacks are so deep when it comes to their farm system that they could continue to find these young players that are right there in Reno to come up and help this team win baseball games. Jesse and I were talking about it before the game, but Jake McCarthy has been struggling over the last week, and that was somebody who had gotten things back on track a bit since being sent down. But man, Dominic is just doing such a good job at a major league level right now. And the Diamondbacks are still position player heavy, so I don't know when we'll see Jake again because Dom is playing so well, honestly.
Yeah, Jake was 0 for 4 again today, so I think he's 0 for his last 14 in Reno. His batting average there is down to 245. I do have to say with Dominic Fletcher, his splits are kind of hilarious. He is 14 for 24 against right-handed pitchers, hitting .583. Against lefties, he is 2 for 11. With 4 out of his 6 strikeouts. So that was kind of a thing for Dom in AAA this year. He had extremely sharp splits in Reno this year as well. So hitting lefties, that's something that you still kind of hope will come later on. It hasn't really come for Alec Thomas yet. Jake McCarthy was actually pretty good against lefties last year, which I think is one of the reasons why the D-backs felt good about him coming into the season. But yeah, Dominic Fletcher is maybe not quite a perfect player just yet. He still has a lot to prove, but it has been really impressive. I mean, you can't 16 for 35. This is outrageous the way that he started his big league career, and the D-backs needed it today. I mean, he had 4 RBI. The D-backs won this game by 2 runs, so he was right in the center of all this for the D-backs.
But Jesse, we knew that was going to happen, right?
Yes,
we obviously we at least here on this show, we knew that was going to happen. We know everything that's going to happen, but what we don't know is the most important thing about tonight's game, and that is, where's the goddamn home run snake? Where is it? I want to know. because it didn't have a very long time in the dugout. As far as we know, that snake has been in the dugout for 3 games. During those 3 games, the Diamondbacks went 0 for 3.
They were 0-3, yes.
And they had 1 home run hit by Evan Longoria, number 335 in his career. Jesse, I'm worried about the snake.
You're worried about the snake?
I think the snake, I made some wild threats today about the snake should the D-backs lose tonight's game. Had they gone on a 4-game losing streak, I felt like I would need to take action. Now, just to make you understand the gravity of these accusations I'm making and the threats that I was making about had the Diamondbacks lost tonight's game, there's a good chance that I probably would have had my press pass revoked and might even been banned from Chase Field as a whole for destroying the snake. But would I have still done that knowing those consequences? The answer is absolutely. I absolutely would have done that knowing these consequences. But it appears that somebody took action before I could, and I think that the snake is no more, Jesse.
So you would have gone into the clubhouse after hours and assaulted the snake if you felt that it was jinxing the Diamondbacks?
I would have fucking cut the head off of that snake, Jesse. I would have cut the head off the snake, and I would have given it to Peggy to make into some sort of stew in the press lounge. And this is coming from a man that does not believe that the words I say can impact a baseball game or the words I write on Twitter can impact a baseball game. I've said it to Damon hundreds of times. Damon knows that I don't believe in these things. But do I believe that home run snake was causing these losses for the Diamondbacks? Oh, you betcha.
For the record, I was not paying close enough attention the last couple of days. It is possible that the Diamondbacks had one day with the snake and then they just were rid of it immediately, right? We don't have firm evidence that the snake was actually in the dugout available.
The Diamondbacks didn't hit any more home runs.
They did not hit any home runs on Wednesday or Thursday. So maybe this is a few days old.
Torey Lovullo did confirm that he wanted to see it more when we had asked him about it, which was the next day. Right, it was after that first loss in the 3-game losing streak, if you will.
I didn't see it in the clubhouse today, but I imagine it probably wouldn't have been there anyway. I don't know where exactly they would store something like that, but
in the trash can, Jesse.
In the trash.
It went in the trash can.
There we go.
We'll try again. See, the Cobra Commander mask, I still think is the best solution, but
we're back to no home run celebration, Derek.
Yeah,
the D-backs had 1 home run where they had their little celebration thing going with the snake, and then it was over.
Yeah, I think Zone in Arizona said also the snake probably hid in Gerald's bag looking for some dinner because Gerald had the rat in his bag in Denver. We know that.
That's a really good theory,
Gabriel,
honestly.
That's a good pull. Gabriel says we need an extra Baxter head.
This would be horrifying
for the home run celebration. No, we're not.
Scare the children.
We're not doing that. I've already told you guys about. I wrote an entire article on how that caused the entire curse that year. So we're not doing.
They would make it look like they decapitated Baxter,
right?
And were wearing his face as a mask.
Yeah. Nate saying we took the snake hostage. Maybe.
Did Brett Lee Johnson take the snake yesterday?
You can't prove it. You can't prove he didn't take the snake. Let me tell you. But we have lots of things to say about Brett Lee Johnson later, so you guys just strap in for that. In the meantime, we do thank you guys for being here for this victorious post-game show. Winners only in here. Sorry, Giants fans, scram. But we thank you guys for being here on the PHNX Sports YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. Don't wait. Sign up for notifications. That way you don't miss when any of our shows go live. Leave us a little thumbs up. That always makes us feel good in our hearts and our souls. If you're listening right now on your favorite audio podcasting app, please subscribe there as well if you haven't done that. And leave us a review. We always appreciate the feedback. Big shout out to our friends at Pins and Aces, by the way. They make some incredible gear that is making me kind of stray away from my previous shirt designer, which I never thought would happen. But their shirts are amazing. They have some wonderful patterns. And, of course, they are our official golf apparel partner of PHNX and ALLCITY. So check them out. Check out our friends at the Big Drive Energy Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts if you love golf. And most importantly, check out all of the great gear that Pins and Aces have. They have some amazing polos, hats, golf bags, and even our favorite thing, which is, of course, the beer sleeve. It fits these guys as well. Seltzer cans, whatever you need to keep cold in your bag. Of course, we are also partnering with them for our Keeping It 100 golf tournament at Dobson Ranch on May 26th. You can click the link in the show notes to sign up. Pins and Aces will be there with prizes, giveaways, etc. If you sign up for the scramble, you will get that incredible Phoenix polo shirt. Look at that thing. I actually told people I would quit if I don't receive that polo shirt, and they said, "Yeah, right." And I said, "Watch me," because that's how much I need that thing in my life. Of course.
You think I could wear that like into the clubhouse? Like, is that like professional attire?
Yeah, wow. Jesse, that is absolute. I told you I could get you the shirts I wear, and that's professional attire.
That is not professional attire.
Absolutely is. It absolutely is. And I mean, even the shirt I got from Pins and Aces that has little bongs and pipes and weed on it, that's professional too. You could check out pinsandaces.com for a weed shirt like that, or whatever you want as a patterned shirt, and use code PHNX to receive 15% off your first order and get free shipping. That's pinsandaces.com. And of course, we've also teamed up with our partners at BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for our listeners each week. Of course, we have our signature bets during the NBA playoffs, which we don't talk about anymore on this show. Me and this guy, we're not. No, we're not in the mood for your shit. We're not going to listen to, and we don't. You keep your basketball talk on your basketball show. We're not having it over here. We're keeping our blinders on because we are both big Suns fans, and we don't need to talk about what happened this playoff series. But there's many more NBA playoff series to come, of course, and you can check that out over at the BetMGM app and check out their signature bets. Of course, you can also check out the BetMGM Sportsbook at State Farm Stadium. It's a beautiful place to watch sports. And of course, nothing beats the thrill of betting live and getting that little slip in your hand, winning and trading that slip in for money. So make sure to check that out. Even if we're not there, but we will be there for our Knockout Nights Cornhole League on the first Friday of every month. We will have food and beverage specials, giveaways, BetMGM prizes, and so much more. We will also be broadcasting our show live from the BetMGM Sportsbook app. Jesse, I will be there. We will be there hanging out, so make sure to come hang out with us. If you haven't signed up for the BetMGM app yet, use bonus code PHNX. There's a few different offers depending on where you live, but for our Arizona audience, you will get up to $100 in bonus bets on your first wager with BetMGM. Again, make sure you use bonus code PHNX. Check out the show notes for full details, and now listen to our buddy Shane talk about the disclaimer.
Disclaimer, 21 plus to wager. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in Washington, D.C., Mississippi, Nevada, New York, and Ontario. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369, New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, Arizona. 1-800-522-4700, Kansas, Nevada. 1-800-327-5050, Massachusetts. 1-800-BETS-OFF, Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help, Michigan.
Well, we already brought up that Ryne Nelson didn't have a great outing once again. And of course, we kind of ponder now the question of if we will see a starting rotation for the Arizona Diamondbacks that will not feature Ryne Nelson, Drey Jameson, or possibly even Brandon Pfaadt. We know how much we on this show have talked about these three guys, and we know we've talked about them being kind of the future of the rotation, but we've also talked about the fact that the Diamondbacks are taking a big risk by having three rookies as part of their rotation. And you also have Tommy Henry in the mix as well, who has been pitching a bit better than those three guys. So, you know, of course, he had a solid outing, like I said, in game one, but how long will the leash be for these guys going forward? And how much will the Diamondbacks kind of consider their development going forward as part of this process of sending them down, calling them up, changing their role from a starter to a bullpen, all of this kind of change that they've been experiencing.
Zach Davies is not far away. It sounds like he'll make probably two more outings in the Arizona Complex League. It's possible they might send him out on a rehab assignment to one of the D-backs AA or AAA affiliates as well. But you're not that far away at this point from Zach Davies coming back. He might even make only one more start down there before coming back up, depending on how the D-backs want to play this. So the D-backs have a pretty big decision looming here. There's not room for all three of these guys, right? Ryne Nelson, Brandon Pfaadt, and Tommy Henry. One of those three guys is presumably going to be out of this rotation within a matter of about a week or two. It's not that far away. And so all of these starts happening right now for these three pitchers are really, really important. I think Tommy Henry, did himself a big favor yesterday with 6 2/3 innings, 2 runs. I know he didn't really have the strikeout stuff, and he hasn't really had the strikeout stuff at all in any start this year. But Ryne Nelson hasn't exactly been, racking up the strikeouts either, even though he has probably better stuff than Tommy Henry does. I tweeted earlier about Ryne Nelson's last 5 starts, which are not great. If we can get the numbers from Ryne Nelson's last 5 starts: 23 2/3 innings, 37 hits allowed, 21 earned runs. He has an ERA right around 8 and a WHIP of 1.82. Ryne Nelson, Derek.
Not great, Bob. Not great.
Not great. And Brandon Pfaadt, I mean, he has not been great either. So these starts are all really important. I think Brandon Pfaadt would probably be, I think if he struggles in a big way again against the Giants on Sunday, maybe they would give him one more start after that. But I think that the choice would be maybe relatively simple, that you would just have to send Brandon Pfaadt back down, because you don't want to mess with his psyche with, just continuing to get hammered start after start. Clearly there would be some things for him to go down and work on. So in some ways it would make it pretty simple for the D-backs, I think, if Pfaadt did that. But also, you don't want that to happen, and I don't think you necessarily expect that to happen either. No. I think there's a pretty good chance that Brandon Pfaadt comes out on Sunday and, maybe he doesn't throw 7 scoreless innings, but maybe he turns in a pretty good start against the Giants, and at that point, things are going to get pretty complicated.
Yeah. Gabriel Ferrer says Ryan's numbers are starting to look like gas prices. Yikes. And more importantly, I know that we want to do this for the success of the team, but how do these guys handle being sent down again, if that's the case? How do they handle the essentially what could be perceived as their failure at a major league level? It can't be great for their confidence. It can't be great for their personal growth. Like, there has to be, and of course, maybe this is impacting their performance. There has to be kind of a sense of anxiety, a sense of unwellness,
I would think so,
between them, especially like Drey Jameson having pitched at times as well as he has, and he got sent down, right? So like his confidence is probably shook. He probably feels a lack of or sense of failure himself, right? And then that adds to these other guys who are very close with Drey. Tommy, Brandon Pfaadt, and Ryne Nelson and Drey are all very close. So if you have the one guy that's been sent down, how does it make the other 3 guys feel about, they could be next, right? Like, it just,
I mean, you could make I don't even think this is like an argument you'd have to make. Drey Jameson, out of those 4 young pitchers, has had more success in the big leagues this year than any of them.
Correct.
And yet he is the one currently in Reno.
That's exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
and so if you're one of those other guys,
right,
what are you like?
Yeah.
I mean, Drey Jameson gets sent down with an ERA of 3.75. Like, I'm not going to last very long doing what I'm doing. And yeah, I think it's a good point. Like, it probably does make it harder for you to settle in as a starting pitcher, knowing that the D-backs have made it clear this year that the leash is not as long as it's been in years past. They're willing to move a little bit more quickly than they have in the past with some of these decisions. And heck, the D-backs probably wouldn't have 3 rookie starters right now if, Madison Bumgarner had been able to hold it together a little bit more. And if Zach Davies hadn't gotten hurt, right, you're probably only looking at one of these guys being in the rotation.
That's the big thing, is how has the success of this team impacted their decision-making when it comes to this stuff, right? Yeah. We know that it impacted their decision to part ways with Mad Bum, right? But as we learned from our press conference with Brent Strom the other day, there seems to be other things that also impacted their decision to part ways with Mad Bum. This seems to be more of occasion.
There were a lot of things.
There were a lot of things.
Their decision to part ways with Mad Bum.
But, like, again, it feels like, how different would their patience with these young guys be if they were 10 games below 500, if they were in the basement of the NL West, if they just weren't playing good baseball? Like, they're in the thick of it, and they have been for long enough now for them to consider themselves not a bad team. We're a good team. We can win baseball games. We can beat good teams. We can win against good teams, but we really need to make the decisions, because every game is kind of critical, right? These losses, these wins, they're important. And it feels like the decision for these young guys is being made in a different way based on the fact that this team is having success right now. Yeah.
I think it's a valid point. I mean, frankly, the last few days, that success has kind of turned around a little bit. I mean, D-backs are 21-18 right now. It's not necessarily the record that you envisioned them having at this point a couple weeks ago. But yeah, I mean,
what did you just say though? They are what?
They're 21-18, Derek. Which
Damon,
is still,
put the fucking little tiny Marte going up.
It's still pretty
They are
good.
still above Mount 500. Damon, let's go. Mount 500. Oh, he's gone. Damon killed Mount 500. The snake's gone. Little tiny Marte's dead. Everybody's killing everybody around here. I hate it. But yeah, no, they're at least above 500, right? And that's the important thing here is that they're gonna go through their slumps, right? Just like the players are, just like Corbin Carroll's kind of experiencing right now. The key is that they're not these like ridiculous. Like tonight, 4 games, 5 games, 6 games. When you start talking about winning or losing streaks that are that long, that can really start impacting the team and their performance. That can start creeping in and making everybody try to press and try harder, which, as we know in baseball, never goes their way. But
trade DeAndre Ayton and Chris Paul for a good relief pitcher. That works, right?
I do not like that deal. I don't
People
feel like
were
that.
people
I
were
feel like we're gonna get
actually
the return on value for that. But.
Did you see that people were hypothesizing on Twitter that the reason that Corbin Carroll wasn't in the lineup yesterday was because the Suns needed a starting center, right? Because DeAndre Ayton was out.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
It makes a lot of sense.
I mean, that's that's absurd because obviously he would play point guard, right? I mean, we know that they would probably use him as a backup point guard.
Why do you doubt Corbin Carroll's post-up abilities, Derek? My God.
It's more of his rebounding. It's just his rebounding that I'm concerned with. But I'm going to say this because I don't know why I feel the need to defend these guys. Probably because Jesse and I spend more time with them than we do with our own families, right, around the players. But you gotta soften up on these guys, right? Like right now, we all want to see, for instance, everybody's been clamoring to have Drey Jameson back in the dugout or in the bullpen, right?
He had a good start,
right?
He had 6 innings, 1 run his last start in Reno.
But if it doesn't go good in 3 outings, then people will want to call him a bum and send him back to Reno, right? And it's like that's kind of what Brandon Pfaadt is going through. We were very excited about Brandon Pfaadt coming up. We know a lot of people, a lot of you were excited about it, and things haven't gone well for him. But that's not really a reason to stop supporting him and want him to be fired, as someone said there with the clever wording with the P and the F in front of it. But I will say that I think these guys are all talented, and I think they still are going to add a lot of value to this team. It's just right now it feels like there's a lot of pressure on them. I feel like there's a lot of, obviously there's a lot on the line, and I think that the success of this team is probably adding to this pressure for these young guys because they're feeling that need to perform and to be at the level that this team right now is performing as a whole. And it's probably difficult. I mean, last year it's a little bit of a softer landing time when the team was obviously kind of out of it. I mean, they were still playing well, but when Drey Jameson and Ryne Nelson came up last year, it was almost like a bit of the waving the white flag.
You're right.
When they
it was a soft landing, whereas this year it's like, yeah, well, if you have 3 bad starts, you're probably going to get sent down. You know,
out.
And I guess the fact that Mad Bum was sent on his way and Zach Davies got hurt, like we said before, it's given the D-backs no choice but to ride it out with these guys.
Mad Bum getting sent out too, right? Like that's got to add anxiety because if they're going to do it to a veteran like Mad Bum, what's to keep them from doing it to my ass, right?
Yeah, that's true. I just think like in the grand scheme of things, what's most important the D-backs have a whole bunch of pitching prospects right now who are either in the majors or really close to the majors, right? Some of them we haven't even seen in the big leagues yet.
Very true.
Blake Walston, Slade Ciccone, right? Bryce Jarvis has had a really nice year in the minors so far. But what the D-backs cannot afford in the big picture is for all of those guys to turn into, either like fringe number 5 starters or like middle relievers. Like that would be a pretty tough pill to swallow because there's so many of them. And, with where these guys were ranked, I don't think any of these guys were expected to be number 1 starters, maybe even number 2 starters. But it would really be rough for this franchise to swing and miss as they've done for a number of years now, right? We talked about it the other day. The D-backs do not have a good track record developing starting pitchers and getting them to find success in the big leagues. That's kind of my bigger thought here. Is in the grand scheme of things, the D-backs just need they don't need all these guys to pan out. They don't need all these guys to be number 3 starters or whatever, but you just can't afford for all of these guys to be, the up and down types that we've seen from this farm system for quite a while.
I agree with that, and I still think Brandon Pfaadt is going to be a very, very good pitcher.
I think so too.
But also credit where credit's due. Tommy Henry has really come around. And there was a very funny interaction in the clubhouse last night after his media scrum where there was some confusion between him and some of us, reporter types about what pitches he was throwing, and apparently we made him paranoid about what he said he was going to have to go back and check.
Actually make him paranoid.
He's like, you're going to make me go check the video and see.
Some unnamed reporters were getting his curveball and his slider mixed up. And Tommy Henry was like, what are they like? Do they blend together that much? I swear they're two different pitches. But yeah, Tommy Henry, I think, did pitch well yesterday. I'd be lying if I said I was like, oh man, 6 2/3 innings, 2 runs against a good offense. Like Tommy Henry's turned a corner. He had 2 strikeouts. He has exactly as many strikeouts as walks for the season. His peripherals are very, very subpar right now. You still need to see some more swing and miss before at least I could be convinced that Tommy Henry is a big league starter now.
We absolutely discussed it after the game, Jesse and I. We were both like, that seemed to be a case more of the Giants' offense being bad more than
there's some soft contact. I think Tommy pitched pretty well yesterday.
Sure, but
is it sustainable? It's not sustainable, right? You can't go out there every 5th day and get 2 strikeouts every start and expect to stay in the big leagues as a starter. It just doesn't work in the long term.
And game 1 was our takeover game, by the way, and we were out there sitting, I believe, in section 216 with you, our family from PHNX. And when Casey Schmidt hit that home run ball off of Tommy Henry.
Not soft contact.
I mean, Jesse and I spent a lot of time in the press box, so we're over there behind home plate. This ball came up to the diamond level and visited with us for a little while before it left the ballpark. It was one of the most amazing home runs I've ever seen.
Touch it.
It was like when one of those performers like Rihanna or somebody decides to perform on a lift so that the people in the 400 section get to also experience the thrill of being on the same section as her or same ground level. The ball came up and was like, "Hey, you guys," and then left the ballpark.
That was a shot.
It was a shot.
443 feet.
Yeah, I think it was the 3rd longest home run after we had the 2 other longest home runs of the year at Chase Field, also all in this last week.
Speaking of long home runs, we should give a shout out to Evan Longoria, who did the impossible today. Evan Longoria hit a home run ball just foul. Jeff Bannister actually got them to review it to make sure it was foul. It was.
Yeah.
And then several pitches later,
hit it in the exact same
almost
spot for
the exact same spot, but on the other side of the foul pool. That is genuinely something I feel like I've almost never seen.
Yeah.
If you hit a foul home run ball, you are screwed. You are definitely going to strike out or roll over the top of something after that happens. I was pretty impressed, Derek. That was a pretty nice at bat there from Evan Longoria against his former team, I might add.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys. Well, if you haven't done so already, make sure to go check out Fubo TV if you want to watch Arizona Diamondbacks on your TV. You can watch it actually from anywhere, stream live from any device. You can watch the most Arizona sports for the absolute lowest price, and you can also start watching immediately with a 7-day free trial. There is no contract, no cable, no hassle. You just sign up and can start watching immediately with 1,000 hours of cloud DVR storage at no extra charge. You can watch, of course, the NHL draft on ESPN coming up, which our Coyotes crew will be present at in Nashville. WNBA action, F1 action, fight nights, so much more. I'm not even mentioning basketball. We're not talking about basketball. But most importantly, you can watch the Arizona Diamondbacks with Fubo TV. Use the link in the description to sign up for 15% off your first month of Fubo Pro. And if you want to see the Diamondbacks live in person, use our friends from Game Time. Procrastinate, wait until the last minute, and save. You can save big by waiting until the last minute. And it is the fastest growing ticket app in the country for a reason. And that is because it provides you with the absolute lowest prices and tickets that you can find. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHNX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. A couple of injury updates. Apparently, Joe Mantiply was injured, and that is the reason he actually injured himself while warming up in game 1 of the series, which kind of had big ramifications on the game. He was the relief pitcher that was supposed to come in the 9th. it ended up being Jose Ruiz who gave up 4 runs, completely blew that 9th inning, and the Diamondbacks were able to come back. It would have been a tie game had the bullpen been able to hold them there in the top of the 9th. So, of course, that injury is something to watch because we already know how depleted this bullpen has been.
Joe Mantiply was pitching really well. It's a tough loss for the D-backs. Mantiply had a bit of a case of dead arm coming into the season as well, so he missed a couple weeks at the beginning of the year. And it really seemed like he was just kind of starting to get in a groove out there, was throwing really well. Really unfortunate timing for the D-backs on this one. But yeah, he was warming up. The D-backs, Torey Lovullo had made the call for Joe Mantiply to come in the game in the 9th inning last night. But he said around like his 10th or 11th pitch, he just felt something off with his hamstring. The Diamondbacks today decided to put him on the injured list. I believe Mantiply himself sort of guesstimated like 3 or 4 weeks that he might miss as a result of this injury. That's a very rough estimate at this point. But yeah, we're probably going to see a lot of Kyle Nelson, of course, will become even more important being a lefty, and then Anthony Misevich is also here as well. We saw him have a pretty nice game here tonight for the D-backs.
Who do the Diamondbacks turn to beyond that, Jesse? Who do they turn to for relief beyond that? Because I feel like we're getting down to the point where the guys that we've seen that they've sent down and called back up have all kind of made that rotation, made that turn. We know that they are already a position player heavy, so it still feels like they're going to call another guy up.
Yeah.
Do you foresee it being Drey Jameson, or do you think they're going to continue to keep him in the starting rotation in minors and go with maybe Peter Solomon or somebody like that?
Yeah, it could be Peter Solomon. I still don't know, to be honest. I feel like part of the reason the D-backs have kind of delayed adding that extra bullpen arm, number one, is because they haven't absolutely needed it at any point. They've been able to get by.
Sure.
And number two, because who are you going to call up, right? Like like you said, are you going to bring up Peter Solomon? You could go get Zach McAllister. He's had some multi-inning outings down in Reno. I could maybe see that being a fit. But yeah, this bullpen, Derek, despite what we might have thought after the first couple weeks of the season, it looks like another pretty subpar Diamondbacks bullpen. And there just aren't really any easy answers here. As far as Drey Jameson is concerned, I will say that as long as Ryne Nelson is struggling the way he is, and maybe you don't feel so confident about Tommy Henry yet, and Brandon Pfaadt is still struggling, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to be like, oh, we're going to convert this starter that we have in Reno that we just sent down. We're going to convert him to reliever now. Yeah. That doesn't really make any sense with the way that those guys are pitching. I would make a pretty confident guess that the Diamondbacks will not make that move until at least they have some more stability here with the rotation.
Zone in Arizona, going back to Longo's home run, said his Longo's dong curved a little much to the right, but I'm glad he adjusted. It curved to the left too much. Come on, let's get that straight.
Depends on your perspective, I guess.
I mean, yeah, I guess, but I'm just saying. Cog says put Book in the pen this offseason. Book would not do well in the pen. We need Campaign in the pen. Campaign has ice in his veins. He scored 30+ points in that final game. I mean,
all I know is if you put Devin Booker in the bullpen, then he would just jet out after the game if he ever blew one and refused to talk to the media, right?
Too soon.
I'm sorry, I had to.
I'm upset at you, but of course, that game we were talking about was again our takeover game. We want to thank so many of you guys for coming out. We had an absolute blast. Let's take a look at these photos of these happy people. Hey, look at these guys. These are a bunch of troublemakers right there. But none more so than Brett Lee Johnson there down on the end. We'll circle back to him here in a moment. Look at these guys, happy folks. Sean DePaz, always an absolute joy to watch baseball games with. Also, for as skinny as that man is, I don't know where he puts the amount of food that he eats. He got both a Sonoran dog combo and then went back for a chicken tenders combo. He's an absolute beast. There's Cogs in the background. Of course, you guys know Jesse, and it's our mom, Chris. She's always there keeping us in line. But and these two hate each other. This is turning into a real sibling rivalry thing, and I don't know what's going on, but I kind of love it. And I'm glad that we have conflict at all of our takeovers. But we missed Gabriel. We missed you out there, of course. Thank you guys for coming out.
There were a few people who pulled the Suns card on us last night.
I understand.
Saying,
I'm not going to
I would come, but I'm going to the Suns game, or I'm a little bit emotionally unavailable. while the Suns were playing an elimination game, which is fair.
You missed getting on the Jumbotron with us. That's what you missed. We got on the Jumbotron a couple of times.
We were on the Jumbotron multiple times.
And I think I think we all know the reason why, Jesse.
The purple hair? Is that what it is?
It's Brett Lee Johnson.
Everybody
should be forced to watch a game with Brett Lee Johnson. And when I say forced. I think that's probably the way to say it. Brett Lee Johnson has the stamina like I've never seen of any human being in my entire life.
The man projects his voice at an unreal level.
It's incredible. And not only that, but he was fully just using all of our standard catchphrases, including Young King, Yo Gabby Gabby. There was a lot of talk about Geraldo Perdomo being a Risk King. There was so much.
He's basically the embodiment of the PHNX D-backs Twitter account.
Exactly.
And a very loud one at that.
It was an experience like no other, and everybody, again, should come out for our takeovers for nothing more than to sit next to Brett and experience that. Because, I have friends that scream at pro wrestling events, Jesse. I hear them tire. I hear the spirit in them dwindle as the event goes on, right?
Sure.
Especially as the night goes on. It's long. You're there for 2 hours, 3 hours. It's a lot of yelling. Your voice gets hoarse.
Anyone can yell at the top of their lungs, but it's the stamina
that
really
consistency,
sets Brett Lee Johnson
If
apart.
the bullpen for the Arizona Diamondbacks had 1/5 of the consistency of Brett Lee Johnson does at screaming at the top of his lungs, this team would be undefeated this baseball season. So shout out to Brett Lee Johnson. Shout out to all of you for coming out. Of course, we can't wait to watch more baseball with you guys. You can still get those takeover tickets. You can still join us. We got some more takeover events coming up. June 3rd is our next event. We looking forward to facing a very good Atlanta Braves team.
Yeah.
And that is the only 7-10 start of the takeover schedule. And then beyond that, in July, we got Cardinals. Like kind of a long gap there in between the June 3rd game and July 25th. So make sure, because you don't have nothing going on. There at this point, you have nothing going on June 3rd. There is no way you have a basketball playoff game to watch anymore. And I'm sorry to be so angry and stern about this, but God damn it, it's over. We can watch baseball now. It's our turn. We get the floor now. So join us June 3rd. And then we love you. We want you to do that. I don't mean to yell. I didn't mean to yell at you. I'm not trying to yell at you.
Just abusively yelling and then going, we love you.
You'll do it now and you'll fucking like it. But yeah, I'm very excited to watch baseball.
Is this your Brett Lee Johnson impersonation
no,
right now?
I mean, I'm kind of hoarse. That's because I tried to keep up with Brett on a few chants and I did not have that level of energy. And you know why it is, because I didn't stop at Circle K on the way to the ballpark yesterday. We had a long day. We did the show before the game, and then we had to go straight to the ballpark. Didn't get to stop to get my energy drink. I didn't get to get my iced coffee for $1.89. I was very upset because, of course, Circle K, not only do I get to go fill up my gas tank, but I get to be very vain and see a video of myself. And why wouldn't I stop at Circle K every single day to see that? Little Derek on the screen telling you to get a Polar Pop and enjoy it. Enjoy your Polar Pop. Polar Pops stay cold longer, and that's what you need in Arizona. You know your car is hot. You need a cold Polar Pop. And make sure
it's really the insulation of the cup.
Oh, it's
really
incredible.
What sets it apart.
It'll stay.
Styrofoam is a powerful thing.
It is. It is. I mean, it's not great for the earth, but you know what it is great for? Keeping ice and keeping your drink cold. And that's what you can do with a Polar Pop. Make sure you're not missing out on any of this great stuff, including Red Bulls, 3 for $8, Monsters, 3 for $6, and of course, 12 packs of beer for $9.99. You can also get our friends Four Peaks beer at Circle K. And of course, right now, text PHNX to 31310 to join the Circle K SMS subscriber club, and you can get a buy one, get one free offer on 32-ounce Polar Pops. Head to circlek.com/store-locator to find Circle K's near you. And again, grab some Four Peaks while you're there. If you're not at a Circle K, grab Four Peaks wherever you get your beer, wherever you get your goods. And of course, Four Peaks for Teachers is still happening this week. Today is the final day of Teacher Appreciation Week. So make sure to thank a teacher, nominate them to win grants, Four Peaks swag, and so much more, including a grand prize of a custom makeover of their teacher's lounge at school. You can go to fourpeaksforteachers.org to nominate a teacher right now or to donate. You can also enter in to win their Four Peaks 4 seats for Diamondbacks games. One lucky winner will get 4 seats to an upcoming Diamondbacks game. Tickets come with D-Bucks. You can grab some food, some Wow Wheat, some Hop Knot, whatever else you want to grab while you're there at the game. You can enter to go by going to Four Peaks Brew on Instagram The link is in our show bio. And of course, you can check out at Four Peaks Brew or at Four Peaks Pub to keep up with the latest for Arizona's hometown brewery. Must be 21 years or older to drink Four Peaks, and please drink responsibly. Well, that's all we got for you guys. Hope you have a wonderful Friday night and a wonderful weekend. We will be back on Monday. The Sunday show, no more Sunday commitment for these guys, but we will be back on Monday with our Mailbag Monday episode, so make sure to keep your eyes peeled for our tweet about that. Send us your questions, and we will be sure to answer them live on the show at 1 p.m. on Monday. We also have a 1 p.m. show next Thursday, which is an off day for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Hopefully, what we will be talking about on Monday is the Diamondbacks winning this series against the Giants, and then they will be starting a new series against the Oakland A's in Oakland. And I hope they meet the possum, Jesse. I want Mike Farron to run into the possum. That's what I really want. The possum that's in the press box.
Mike Farron going to Oakland?
I don't know. Mike Farron's all over the place sometimes. I mean, knowing Mike
so
Farron,
random.
Mike
Mike
Farron would probably
go to
stay away from Oakland. That's true. But anyway, make sure to check us out for these post-game and post-series shows next week. And of course, in the meantime, you can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Cap_Caveman with a K. Jesse is at Jesse N. Friedman. The show is at PHNX_D-backs. Our producer, Damon, is at Damon Dog with a little at the end because it's DAWG. But of course, like I said, all roads lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We thank you guys so much. Charles Woodall Pike said it's still hockey season. It absolutely is not. It's not basketball season. It's not hockey season. It's none of those sports. Your time is up, and our time is now. That's the way this works around here. But of course, I've been shouting at you guys a lot, and I'm sorry. I want you to know I love you, even though I yell at you. I still love you. On behalf of Damon, Jesse, and myself, we appreciate your time. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it is so much more fun when you win the goddamn baseball game.